Hello, everybody, and welcome to coverage of the final quarterfinals for the 2022 Spring Fling Top 8. I'm Michael Hoyp. I'm joined today by Lester Smerling. Say hi, Lester.
Howdy.
How are you doing?
Good.
Yes, all
Looking
right.
forward to this one.
Yeah, I mean, all these matchups that we've had so far, we won't talk about any of the other ones in case you haven't seen them, but have been really interesting. The top eight's really diverse. A nice tune that we like to sing in pre-modern often. But here we have the bottom left with Enchantress up against Devourer, and we have some pretty big names in the pre-modern community playing. We have Nils and Delphin, who has been winner of Epic and won the Fall Brawl, so he's been doing pretty well in the bigger tournaments that he's played in lately. And Tom is a consistent top eighter of actually these tournaments as well. I didn't tally how many that he's had, but I know he's consistently does well in the spring flings and top eights, and he's one of the PSS competitors. So no shortage of pre-modern credits to both of these players. I'm very excited to see both of them in action as well as the decks. So I'm going to bring up the deck list. Is there any big takeaway you have just from this matchup in general?
It doesn't look like they're going to be interacting very much.
Yes, I would say the first game more especially. There are a few cards that kind of might come into play, but I think it's kind of who is going to be able to do their thing. And but then I do think the sideboard games might change that. There, I think enough pieces kind of interact. We won't talk as much about the sideboard games. I will note we are doing a best of 3 today, so the first game will be without sideboard, and then the second and potentially the third game will involve the other 15 cards.
Is Nils frozen?
I'm not sure. Well, he'll figure out. Well, hopefully, while we're still doing our pregame, so he might have to refresh. So I have the Enchantress deck up, and so this is a deck that's existed in the pre-modern space for a long time. There aren't that many people who really have piloted this deck, though I have a decent amount of experience it thanks to playing Andrew Walker, who is a tried and true pilot of it. And I actually like a lot of the things that goes on with Enchantress. What are your impressions of the Enchantress deck?
It can be it can be very fast, and then it can also be dirtly. So I think it's really draw dependent. I like this deck because it looks like it's trying to maximize. It's sweet.
Oh, I had muted Niels. I know he had refreshed, so I don't know if he's talking to you right now.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So I think that it's good. It can be very very fast, but it can be a little bit dirtly at times too. Is my whole take on it.
Yeah, in my experience, it does take a little bit of time to kind of set up shop. You're spending the first few turns ideally playing the Argothian Enchantress or the Enchantress's presence, and then you're kind of getting advantages by developing your board. And I mean, it is a combo deck, but it also has some prison elements, so it's not just like a straight combo where just the speed is the most important thing. But I mean, it can very quickly on the 5th or 6th turn, like have a very impressive board presence, but it does take a few turns to kind of get set up. And the first games, I think that is maybe where things could kind of get punished because the Devourer combo is a very fast deck, especially if you know that you're playing against an opponent that doesn't have a ton of interaction or doesn't have hand disruption or counter spells that you can more aggressively mulligan and try and find. I think the fastest the combo can do is turn 2. I mean, that is on the higher end of things, but I think turn 3 is not like unexpected, I guess, with game 1 with the Devourer combo. So I would say that I do like the edge a little bit to Tom in the first game. I think the sideboarders do change things, but I think Tom is a little bit faster of a combo, though Niels does have some cards that might interact. All right, so is that your impression of the matchup, I guess, at least for the first game?
Yeah, for sure. Game 1, Devourer doesn't. It just seems like a clear advantage. But then games 2 and 3, it looks like it's going to be an uphill fight for Devourer.
Okay. So, all right, I am ready to start. So I'll jump down to the match. Lester, if you want to let our players know that they can begin. And we will get things. I'll reorient this screen for Tom. And then we should be good. So Niels is the higher seed, and he gets to elect to play or draw. He's elected to play first. And so we will see if that impacts things for this first game. And okay. Yes, Tom has done a good job of staying on theme if we're playing in the spring fling, registering fling in his deck list. So very appreciated. I would say anyone who can top 8 the fall brawl with a brawl in their 75, I think, would be pretty cool. A lot less impressive of a card.
I have to actually look up Brawl here.
I don't actually know what it does.
It's
I know
red, right?
I know it's a 3 red
mascot.
for a sorcery. I'll bring this one out. I know it's from Mercadian, but
I don't think it was even draft playable, right?
yeah, I don't think. I think it's just like one of those cards that just doesn't do anything until end of turn. All creatures gain tap. This creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature. It is an instant.
That's not bad.
Very situational, but okay. Back to a real match. We have a turn 1 exploration, and then a City of Brass, and then a Wild Growth. So a lot of mana has been played for Nils on turn 1.
Explosive.
Yes.
One of the 2 explorations too.
Yep. So there's always a little bit of an awkward tension, kind of like playing those cheap little enchantments, because if you do have a card like Argothian Enchantress or Enchantress Presence, it's nice to always cycle those enchantments, but also sometimes you need to speed it up, so you do play like the present a turn earlier.
So turn 1 defense card, basically just a tinker target.
Yeah, I don't think.
Tinker food.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't think there are any like really relevant things going on for Nils in the main deck for game 1. So both players have a way to accelerate mana. I guess having a turn 2 Serra Sanctum playing out 2 enchantments is something I did not consider. So
he does have the Solitary Confinement game 1 to protect himself.
yep, and here's a card that's worship that like this in combination with Argothian Enchantress, it doesn't completely shut off the combo because it does shut off the fling, but you can still go for an Altar of Dementia. So still a way for Tom to win even if that combination gets in play, but still pretty good for Nils, I guess.
Tingler.
Gabe, I was just saying I hadn't considered like playing a Serra Sanctum on turn 2 and playing the enchantments earlier, because I was just talking about the downside to running them out early is you don't get the card draw with some of the other cards, but using your mana efficiently is sometimes important. All right, Tanglewire will slow things down. It is good for Tom that Tanglewire does not count enchantments, so Neil still has a minimal amount of non-enchantment permanents, so he still has to tap out.
I guess interesting that he tapped the Tomb and not the Chivalry here.
So it might just mean that he has something like a land and impulse, and doesn't have another colored source.
Could also have one of the intuitions too.
Yep. So I'm guessing that is probably maybe like his bottleneck that he's shorter. Okay. Looks like he's right away casting impulse. I guess the defense grid does kind of force that play.
Yeah.
Not a mistake you want to make where you pass the turn thinking that you're going to cast the end of turn impulse and your own card is preventing that. So. Okay, so I mean, at this position, I mean, Tom could. I guess he's not necessarily going to win. He still needs. Well, if he had another land, he'd have access to. Potentially, if he has another land, he could tinker and fling next turn.
Just Opalescence is really huge because it also helps out with the Tanglewire now too. You access more of the lands.
So now he worship is its own creature to count for worship. Is that how this is working? And that was an attack for 5.
Yep.
So I mean, like,
he's on a 2-turn clock.
And yeah, it's the wild growth is not a creature, because it is non-aura enchantments. So uh, I guess it's like a pretty much like a 2-turn clock. I mean, potentially 3, but if Tom has to use his Ancient Tomb, then he's really only has 2 more turns. It would be kind of interesting if he's able to. Oh, I guess he is at 10. He took a damage for the impulse that I missed, and it would be interesting to see if Nils is able to kind of race this in a very non-traditional way. Like, I was not expecting just the Opalescence beatdown to be his route to victory.
I did not either. I didn't factor in exploration and Sanctum, I guess,
Okay.
for the speed. That was a big part of it. So Tom needs to get 2 cards into play here.
Yep. I mean, I would have to think because I guess I didn't see if either player had mulliganed. But if Tom's keeping 7, then I would have to think that he has a fairly quick hand. But with him missing mana, and not like deploying anything like an altar,
Yeah.
maybe I'm guessing he has a fling in hand. Okay, it looks like he is playing a land. It is another Ancient Tomb. He's going to take. Is this 6 damage just to cast a Phyrexian Devourer? I mean, there's not like too. There's, I guess, Seal Cleansing kind of opens you up to do things. I do think there are Swords to Plowshares. I guess, well, Swords to Plowshares is not very good at interacting with the Devour combo very often. But I guess in this situation, Tom is tapping out. But I don't think that's going to make a difference. The swords are on the board. But yeah, Seal Cleansing I think is the one vulnerability from this position.
I mean, he does have a lot of seals.
Yeah, 3 I think 3. Yeah. But I think this is Tom thinking that he doesn't have time if he doesn't commit this Phyrexian Devourer this turn.
Oh, the Devourer can also block the exploration too.
Yeah, that's something that probably doesn't come up. Probably I guess probably doesn't come up very often.
You have to prevent the exploration hits whenever you can.
So one thing I saw at LobsterCon, Ryan Grodzitsky was playing Battle Voids, and he had the Phyrexian Devourer in his deck. He cast the Devourer, or had it in play, and his opponent went to Mog Fanatic. So he started exiling cards. I think the first card was a Forest. The second card was a Draco. So he had 1 copy of Draco in his deck. He did not have very many cards, but that Devourer died very promptly after that. So very unfortunate, but I guess you can complain about the bad beats when it's like a 1 in 250 chance of happening. All right, so
the real question is Draco still in the deck, or did he cut it after that?
I don't know. The big thing here is that the Phyrexian Devourer is still in play. So I have to imagine that is kind of just the window that Tom needed, and I'm going to guess we're seeing a fling here. He's going to take a damage. I'm going to guess he's adding... Okay, so we're seeing Intuition.
Well,
you can just
fling
get...
doesn't do anything.
Would you get fling here, or would you get... I guess you have to get the altars. All right.
Yeah,
so...
you have to get altar.
Okay.
Because fling doesn't do
Yep,
nothing
because
there.
the worship, yeah. All right, so Intuition will get 3 altars. 1 will go to his hand, and he'll have the mana and the life to cast. So, I mean...
There's really nothing that Enchantress can do here.
Well, what if he just attacked, like, last turn?
Well, I think the danger was if he attacked, he might have lost his worship.
Yeah, but, like, also, like, Tom has to kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe you're hoping he just has fling and not like Intuition or altar.
I guess you're in a position there from the Enchantress standpoint that you're just waiting to draw a seal,
Mm-hmm.
and that's probably not a good spot if you don't actually attack.
Well, I mean, like, if you attack with worship and he has to block with the Devourer, right? I mean,
Yep.
There's a small chance that he flips over another Devourer and it just dies, right? Or is it 7 or it's 7 or greater, right?
Which actually did happen there, right? Because he did flip over Devourer.
Oh, I mean, I didn't see the first ones. I mean,
I'm pretty sure
at this point,
he
it's
Phantom out.
inconsequential because he has the altar. So
Yeah.
very very close. I guess I was thinking it was just going to be a quick speedy game one, and it was much more of a race in a very traditional way. I guess in the sense of attacking with creatures, but certainly not in the way of Opalescence being very traditional. But okay,
It's really not interactive like we thought it wouldn't be, though.
yes.
Like, so sideboarding Enchantress gets a ton of cards, right?
Yeah, there are a lot of cards in the sideboard for the Enchantress deck that I think improves things for them. So Carpet of Flowers is not good. Seal of Fire, that doesn't do anything. I mean, I guess if you're expecting like Goblin Welder, but Swords of Plowshares not good unless you're just trying to prevent Goblin Welder. City of Solitude, that I don't think is worth it, especially because you don't want to City of Solitude in play because you have like Seal Cleansings and whatnot. Sylvan Library I could see coming in, especially if there's a number of cards that want to come out. Aura of Silence is great, and Cursed Totem is great. So I'd expect to see those 6 cards come in. I'd be taking out Elephant Grass.
I don't think Replenish does very much.
I mean, Oath of Druids also is probably not very impressive.
Oh, that's true too.
So Replenish might be better than those cards. I guess it is a little bit awkward that there are some clunkers in the Enchantress deck that just aren't very impactful in this match. But I mean, having Seal Cleansing, I mean, there's four Sterling Grove, a little slow to get it, but those can find it.
To be fair, the Elephant Grass does just cycle for 1 if
Mm-hmm.
you've got an Enchantress in play, so you might want to just leave that in there.
Yep, I can see that. That
is a 1-mana cycle at that point.
Mm-hmm. Are there other? So you think you might keep the Elephant Grass in more instead of the Replenish?
Instead of like the Oath. Well, I think the Replenish are the first cards out.
Okay.
Actually, because they don't really do anything. And I think that you take a look at Elephant Grass and Oath is just cyclers at that point.
Okay. Hi Slay J, how's it going? It was good to see you this weekend. Many of us met up. We were able to go out to Boston and play Premodern and or Old School. So there were lots of people that I've been interacting with the last 2 or 3 years that I got to meet for the first time. So that was very, very exciting. All right, I got the Devourer combo sideboard up. What is appealing? I mean,
I think it's just Rushing River.
Right? Rushing River.
Rushing River.
A lot of the time, that is the game plan for the Devourer deck. Is you're just always bringing in Rushing River. I mean, this is a matchup where Cursed Totem is very problematic, but beyond that, there's not. And there's usually some number of Engineered Plagues or Null Rods or something coming in. So, So what's the worst card? Defense Grid.
Yep. I don't think you bring in the Welders, right? They don't really do very much.
I mean, there are a number of like the disenchant effects. I don't think it's unreasonable to. It is a little bit of tension if you're like, I mean, I don't even know if you're that afraid of like Oath. If he does still have Oath and you like cast a Goblin Welder, I think that's fine. I can see bringing in the Welders. I'm not exactly sure. The times that I've played the Devourer combo, I don't think I had the Goblin Welders in my sideboard, and so I don't have as many repetitions with that build. So. It'll be interesting to see if that's a decision that Tom made. So you're thinking that the edge goes now to the Enchantress deck with the sideboard.
So, okay. I think Aura is like really good against this deck.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but I mean, I still think that Tom could pretty easily win one of these next 2 games. I don't think like the matchup swings in Nils' favor so much that it feels really bad for Tom. So
I mean, that was probably the fastest straw that Enchantress could get was last game, I would think. The first 2 or 3 turns.
Yeah, other than like setting up like a Solitary Confinement lock, yep. I think yes, that was a pretty aggressive draw. So yep. I did not play Old School, so my my itinerary for LobsterCon, I just played in the main Premodern event, and the rest of the time I did stuff in the city with my wife. So I got a good day of Magic, and then I got to do something that I don't always get to do when I go to Magic tournaments is explore the places that I'm at. So it was a good balance. I did enjoy it. I would recommend that if you guys are traveling with people to actually experience the places that you're at. So
O2 is not really fun if you don't have power too. You kind of have to have power, right?
yeah, there, a lot of times if you kind of get to know people there, you'll find people who can loan you cards. Can you just let the players know that they can begin whenever they're ready? It just looks by their hand gestures that they're waiting for an approval. All right, game number 2, we have the Enchantress deck on the play since Nils is down a game. He's looking to equalize and then take out the next game if he can take down Tom. Pietro, I'm in the Midwest in Wisconsin, so it's about. I had to make a connecting flight, but it was about 5 hours of travel, 5 or 6. So
I thought you guys would road trip that one, to be honest with you.
no, we're we're driving to Florida this summer, so but that's with the kids. It's a lot more expensive for like 2 extra flights. So
Yeah.
I guess I mean it would be fun to like if you did just road trip with like Magic people. It kind of just be like the old days and get stuff done. But yeah, it was nice just to
drive,
fly. I flew out of Madison too. That made it much. It's real relaxing, real close to me, and just a calmer airport. So yeah, the live events were great, and it was just something that was overdue given the pandemic. It felt good to play Paper Premodern, and it's just something different when you're sitting face to face with someone. You get to interact with them in a different way, and the game feels a lot different. So, Seal of Cleansing on turn 2 off a City of Brass. So Neil's taking a couple of damage. I don't think that's very impactful, but Seal of Cleansing is a big player potentially for this matchup. So Tom's easiest way for playing around a Seal of Cleansing is for having an artifact in play and then tinkering it away and then having Fling. So the Altar of Dementia half of the combo is a little bit more difficult with Seal in play. Madison has an airport now. I'm pretty sure that Madison has had an airport for a while. So if this situation like Seal Cleansing, if you had Altar of Dementia and you just had like Goblin Welder, I mean, I can see like Goblin Welder being pretty good because I mean a lot of Niels' disruption is kind of interacting with Aura Silence or Seal Cleansing. I mean, Aura Silence is a little bit more difficult maybe to get Niels to pop, so it probably the artifact that you're looking was going to be staying in play for a while, but I can see like Goblin Welder playing a role in these sideboard games. All right, Sterling Grove coming down. This one.
That makes Rushing River a little bit rougher.
Okay, yep.
It's also their tutor too.
So yeah, what is the biggest haymaker? Aura Silence. I mean, because it's Solitary Confinement is decent some of the time. But you can't get Cursed Totem. So I guess because I think that's probably one of the cards that Niels is most excited to see in this matchup.
If he's holding Opalescence though, then it's huge to go get the Worship.
Okay.
Because that would lock out a lot of the deck now.
All right, so a Seal of Cleansing was used on the Mind Stone. So since Niels had redundant copies of the seal, he's kind of slowing Tom down, taking out some of his mana. Also, I guess since he's tapped out, he denies him the card draw.
What do you think about using that there though? Would you have just sat on that second seal?
Like just not kept in play, or like not played the second one, or you're saying just kept them both?
Anything, just waited.
Well, what good does like just having two in play, and like what situation do you get punished by just having one Seal Cleansing? I like the play, I think.
I would just look at it as if they do have a play to get rid of one of your cards, now they can get rid of the one thing that's going to stop you.
Well, in a situation with like Rushing River, the other enchantments have Shroud, so you're still like protected from that kind of situation.
He's gonna have to use the Sterling Grove here sooner or later.
Okay.
I would think.
So
He
a
can't just sit on it forever.
replacement Mind Stone has appeared. Uh, do you change your plays a lot? Like, do you think like if you played against a deck like Devourer combo, do you kind of put them on a read on like what turn they're going to combo off? Like, does it change? Like, is there ever a point where you have like shields down, kind of from Niels's perspective, or I guess there's not really a situation where he. I,
I personally always think they're gonna combo me the next turn.
okay.
That's how I always play it. But
Okay. So you try and play as conservatively as you can. Okay.
yeah, because like with this deck, it's usually like one draw step away from being pretty relevant. Do you play it that they just don't ever have the combo?
I'm usually trying to. I mean, unless I unless they've done certain things like the way that they've cast like impulse or something, or like if something's tipping me that they don't have anything, but most of the time I'm very respectful of the combo.
I think this is. I think in this game here, we can pretty much guarantee that he's got a Tinker in hand.
Okay.
Because he didn't sacrifice both artifacts to get 2 draws when he used the first seal.
Didn't sacrifice both art
He
for.
could have tapped. Oh, well, he could have tapped a Mind Stone to sacrifice the Chromatic Sphere.
Yeah, the Chromatic Sphere stay
First,
in play, but he
yeah,
didn't have like a second mana just
yeah.
to use the Mind Stone. Yeah, I guess the one thing I guess Niels kind of has to think about is I guess it's like a Tinker Fling combination right now, or uh, Rushing River kind of screwing things up if he's kind of setting up a defense with his little enchantments all coming into play. But Seal Cleansing is a good insurance plan, I think, against. I mean, I guess it's
Alter card.
equally well. The altered combo is easier to assemble in the sense that you can spend your mana on 2 different turns. While Fling, you need to have Fling. You have to spend 2 additional mana. All right, we do see Replenish. That is getting back 2 Cleansing since he used 1 on the other Mind Stone, and now you're sitting with 2 more seals. So
Yeah.
Replenish doing work here in that situation. I guess this is one situation where the enchantments do go to the graveyard is from like using Seal Cleansing and Aura Silence, and Replenish seems like it was pretty good in that spot.
That makes more sense why he might have been cycling through the seals too.
Yeah, you could use them a little more liberally.
Yep.
All right, Tom is very good at
Mind
playing
Stone
Mind
flooded.
Stone lately, and so he'll play another Mind Stone and he'll pass the turn.
He can now get full value out of sacking it to draw a card now.
Yeah, so as long as he's not tapping out, then he can
Yeah.
always replace it, and he does have access to 5 mana right now. So like the Tinker Fling threat is looming. If that's something that Niels can do anything about, but I'm trying to think how many cards. Like playing a preemptive Solitary Confinement, I feel like is one thing that he can do, but most of his stuff he kind of has to just kind of commit to the board.
So Sanchez is going to sacrifice Sterling Grove here, I think. Yep.
Are we in the upkeep right now?
Yes.
Okay. So this will allow him to put a enchantment on top of his deck and then draw it for the turn.
So what do you think he's getting? You think he's getting a hate card? Or you think he's just going to get like Enchantress Presence to try to?
Interesting. I mean, because like Aura of Science slows him down, but you kind of already have so many of that. Like,
Get
I
2
mean,
of them.
yeah, like I don't know if. Okay, so the presence is going on top. So setting up a draw engine here.
At some point, you gotta start getting through your deck here. I think he might also have the second Grove.
But this is kind of a situation where like, I mean, not that Niels could really do much differently, but you're kind of afraid of like Tinker Fling in this situation, right?
I would think so. Yeah.
I mean, I guess what you could do is blow up both his enchant or as artifacts, but that seems very aggressive considering they can replace themselves. So
Yeah.
a very that would be an interesting line. It potentially is what you would need to do, but I don't think I would make that play. So
So we were right about the second grove there.
okay.
I mean, from the enchanter standpoint, you're just kind of, for lack of better words, you're almost a dirtling at this point. That you're just
Yeah, you're
you got
kind
to
of at
get
the
this
mercy of
somewhere.
like. I mean, it looks like he only has one card in hand. Like you've done what you can really to kind of slow
Yep.
or prevent Tom from doing his thing, but at this point, you kind of just have to play what kind of comes to you. I guess you could use Sterling Grove and go get another presence and kind of chain those together.
Yeah, you're almost trying to assemble a 2-card combo here too to try to get going.
I mean, from the situation, if you don't have to use the Sterling Grove, you could get like Solitary Confinement, and if you're able to chain together enchantments, usually you need multiple either Enchantress's Presence or Argothian Enchantress to kind of
Right.
continue the draws, but that would be kind of a lock that Nils wouldn't mind setting up.
I don't know what you tutor for here because I mean I guess it depends what he has in his hand, but there's nothing that gets you like 2 cards.
I mean, I'm kind of feeling like if you got the Enchantress present the last turn, that you go get another one.
I can see that. Mana start not to be an issue with Sanctum in this many. Nothing. Okay, fair enough. So Devourer almost certainly has something like an intuition here, right?
Yeah, or he's just like sitting on a like rushing river kind of thing, and he's looking like
Yeah.
he could have Altar of Dementia, and I
He
guess
could have
yeah,
one. He could have one river and be waiting to draw the second one too.
yeah,
Like River the Grove, double river your
yeah. If he has like the
enchant.
Altar of Dementia kind of plan, like that's what he
Yep.
needs to go to. I
I
mean, there are
think
also times that like
ultimately,
sometimes you just don't have the combo pieces in your hand. Sometimes you keep a hand that can cast your spells quickly, like you and you can sometimes you just like draw a bunch of devourers or whatnot. Like it's not like they always have it, but yeah, I would think that given kind of what Tom's done this game, I would think that he has pieces of the combo or the interaction piece with Rushing River. All right, Neil's counting some mana. That Sterling or that Terra Sanctum's making 4 white mana before it gets used. So I think what we might be seeing is him putting an enchantment on top and then casting another enchantment to draw it right away.
yep. Maybe worship here, and he's got Opalescence in hand.
Yeah, because that would
That would turn off half of it. Well,
I
that'd
mean,
turn off
the
the
half that
worship.
is kind of what you're afraid of right now.
Yep.
Because the Altar of Dementia with the 2 seal cleansing you can interact with.
So you could be getting the worship, or I mean, it's more likely. Well, we were wrong. Here's that elephant grass comes into play.
Yeah,
1 green, draw 2.
yeah. That seems like a good card.
Yeah. Okay, library.
So yeah, this is a nice sideboard card because your life total really isn't pressured against the combo deck, and you can convert that into new cards, which could be really powerful. Just because you at this stage, like you have a nice setup, you just need to start playing enchantments, and you're going to go through your
Yeah.
deck very quickly. So
Yep. Yeah. Difference between drawing 2 enchantments to draw 4 cards is way bigger than drawing just 2 cards.
mhm. So Tom passed quickly. He played just an Ancient Tomb, I think. That's the card in his hand that he
Yeah.
played. Okay.
Yep. I mean, the fling is still Fling Devourer is still a thing right now. There's no protection against that yet.
I fear that it might not be for very long though. Like Niels' deck is set up, like, and he will, I think, be able to. I think Tom has one more turn, is what I would say. I think this turn and the next turn, like Niels is going to do some very powerful things.
The second Sanctum's kind of huge too.
Did the Sanctum have a fertile ground on it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we get a wild growth that's going to enchant the Serra Sanctum, but it will also net 2 cards. So
Yep.
yes, we are playing a best of 3. That is what the players settled on. So just
Exploration draw 2.
just a short match. Well, might not be short in terms of time, but short in terms of game. So we'll see what kind of develops. I think I like Neil's chances from this position, but anything can happen against the Devourer deck. So
Sanctum's happening for 8, right?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, I count 8 as well. Yeah, I would agree that more people have picked up the Enchantress deck lately, and you do see it a little bit more often. But I feel like it was one of those decks, like when the format first came out, it had more of a presence. Pardon my pun. And then, but kind of faded away. I don't know if that was a metagame thing or if people just started playing different decks, but we hadn't seen it as much. And I know Niels has been very happy with the deck. I think in his notes, he says it's one of the best decks in Premodern, and he wanted to kind of prove that. So, all right, we have Solitary Confinement, and I guess there's no like Sterling Grove, no way that it has Shroud right now, but I have to imagine that Niels is going to be able to keep this around. That is a Parallax Wave.
So you think he's just cycling through to try to find Opalescence now? To try to end this game? Or you think he's trying to still set up more protections?
I mean, I think I would just
Maybe
kind of
just
keep going
play
and try and
just
find like Sterling Grove or something, and
yeah.
then I mean, it doesn't really matter how you win. Like I think either of those, like you might even be able to kill him with Words of War the next turn. So
He already played a land this turn.
he had
Oh, is that
Exploration.
Exploration?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, Cursed Totem. I guess that was a card we had mentioned, but I kind of forgot about.
Yep.
So Rushing River, I think, needs to be played, targeting the Solitary Confinement and the Cursed Totem.
Yep.
And without that, then I think I would definitely say that Nils is likely to win this game otherwise. So Tom could have a card like Intuition, and he would spend his turn intuiting and then casting Rushing River. But yes,
I only
Tranquil.
think that he has one of the 3 mana blue spells right now.
Yep.
With the way he passed last turn.
Tranquil Domain would be pretty good. I would cast a Tranquil Domain. You'd still have to deal with the Curse Totem, so it's kind of funny in a situation where the diversity of the Curse Totem being an artifact would help out. But yeah, things might be tough for Tom to kind of get his way out of here, because I guess, I mean, I'm trying to think what decision. I guess maybe cracking Mind Stone. Maybe that would be a decision point. You're not sure to crack Mind Stone or the Chromatic Sphere, just to use your Chromatic Sphere. I guess is pretty free because it's net 0 mana when you use it. But using like Mind Stone this turn to draw an extra card might be something that Tom is considering.
There's also the consideration of turning off your Tinker too if you cycle all of your artifacts out.
Mm-hmm.
You might still want to be trying to Tinker. So maybe the decision right now is he's trying to figure out if he wants a Rushing River now. If he does it, then he basically loses most of his permanents.
I guess yeah, he might
than
think
mana.
that like maybe he can spend a turn. Maybe he thinks he's not like gonna die, and he can just Rushing River the next turn if he has it. That is something that's potential. Like it that would meaning that he doesn't have like the rest of the combo in his hand, and
Right.
that he's gonna use his resources now to try and kind of find it. Let's see.
Yep.
All right, we do see Rushing River.
So now he's got. I think he has to get the Cursed Totem and the. Yep.
Solitary Confinement. Yep.
Yep.
I think.
And now he's got Intuition.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, this could be very good. I mean, because at this point, if you just have. Well, he had to sack a land.
Yep.
So if he has Fling and Tinker, he should be set because you can use the Mind Stone for mana, tinker it away, and then the Chromatic Sphere can be filtered into red mana with the Ancient Tomb.
But right now you're gonna lose both of your artifacts in play.
Nils has to make that decision though. Like it's not like if he has priority,
Yeah.
then he can do that. So I guess that is a consideration that Nils might just say like, I'm gonna get rid of your artifacts, and I think that actually would be pretty reasonable here.
I mean that's what. I mean when the guy goes and gets Tinker. I mean he might have the 0 mana amulet thing, but. So at this point, that's what I would guess he has is he has an amulet and he has Fling in hand.
All right, so we're using one seal.
Doesn't tap it for mana. Would you have tapped that for mana there just to protect yourself a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, there's no opportunity cost because I guess he like Niels could just like destroy the Chromatic Sphere in a different end step, or like a different. I guess he's doing it at end step. I don't know.
I guess in this situation, he is still protecting himself from Altar, right?
Okay.
So
Well,
if he gets rid of all the artifacts.
but if you just get rid of the Chromatic Sphere, then you're just afraid of. I mean, you're afraid of Jeweled Amulet, Altar. I think you should use the Seal Cleansing here.
I think so too. I think you just do it. The second he goes, but.
Yep. Okay, he does use it. Yeah, I do agree with that. I think that limits Tom's options. So
I think this means that he's definitely got amulet Fling though. I mean, I guess he could have a 1 mana artifact too, right?
yeah.
Amulet's cooler though.
Or he could have altar, amulet, tinker.
Yeah.
Or like altar, land, Chromatic Sphere, tinker.
This could have been just a play to get rid of the Tinker didn't matter too.
Okay, here's Chromatic Sphere, but he has 1 mana floating. So because if you tinker here, you're short a mana of playing altar or fling. So I think he's cycling this to draw a card. Gonna turn colorless into blue. But you need. Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know what you need multiple things, and I don't know if those are possible from that. So
I guess the play that we might have missed is this fact that he sacked the City of Brass, and he did need 2 colored mana to make that play work.
Yeah, well it wasn't as much color mana. Well, I mean he had the Chromatic Sphere at the time, but yeah, the Seal Cleansings were in play. But yes, just having to sacrifice the land to kick the Rushing River was very key there, because from the body language it seemed like he needed an extra mana from that turn, I think. So
I wonder if he realized possibly that he should have sacked one of the tombs so he could have 2 colored mana.
Well,
because all of our plays involved having to have 2 colored mana for the most part there.
Do you have enough mana at that point though? So he had 5 mana. Well,
6 mana,
including the Mind Stone, which you
probably not without Not with the Mind Stone, because he didn't tap Mind Stone. So he had 2 tombs and
2
2
tombs.
regular.
Yeah, okay. So he would, if you sack a ancient tomb, you go down to 4 mana.
Yep. Possibly 5 with the Mind Stone.
Yeah, I have to think that the Mind Stone's going away. But what do you do with 4 mana? I mean, like, I guess maybe you're out of it is just drawing like another land, and like that's easier to draw than a colored source.
Yep.
And maybe you just have to draw the 5th mana and have 2 colored sources. If you have Fling, I mean he could have had Altar, and then it wouldn't have mattered, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh. All right, so the kind of soft lock from Enchantress was enough pressure and kind of made Tom use his resources, and he was not able to assemble the combo. And the seal cleansings, I mean, like, they're not hitting the juicy targets, but it made a difference. I mean, like, especially having 2 of those. Like, if you have just 1 seal cleansing and that got replenished, I think Nils probably loses that game. Now it's Tangle Wire time, says Slay J. So, yep, definitely.
That may have been a preemptive scoop though too, right? Because there wasn't really. I mean, I guess you got to figure he's gonna draw Opalescence.
Well, you know about Cursed Totem and the Solitary Confinement that you bounced. So yes, it's not definitive, but probably very problematic. So. All right. So who are you liking for this game 3?
I still think that Devourer is.
Yeah, like my gut is just saying that the Devourer has an edge. Like being on the play, a lot of things can happen. Like Tangle Wire can cause a lot of problems. I think, like you just put it out there in turn 2, and the Enchantress deck. I don't know if I'll call the deck slow, but like it is, those initial turns are pretty pivotal of like setting up shop, and Tangle Wire could really prevent you from playing an Argothian Enchantress or an Enchantress present, and delaying those a few turns gives a lot of time to Tom. So
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of turns there where the Enchantress deck was just setting stuff up to get to the point where we're at that game.
are we going to see a turn 2 kill?
Not if I'm Mulligan.
No.
So I would change my answer.
I died on turn 2 during the tournament.
Did you?
What do you think I died to on turn 2? It's a very not actually played that much in Premodern, but very iconic. People love to talk about it. That'll be my hint.
Draco Explosion?
Nope. On turn 2?
You might be able with Dark Crystals and stuff, maybe, right?
Maybe.
Might work.
Probably don't have enough cards in your hand.
You didn't lose a Channel Fireball. That's
No.
not even legal.
No.
No. I'm not sure then.
Uh,
What'd you die to?
Turn 1. So I was on the play. I went Treetop Village. My opponent went Swamp, Sarcomancy, go. And then I went Mishra's Factory. I went Mishra's Factory, and he goes Swamp, Lotus Petal, attack. And I'm like, I kind of want to block here. But like my hand was like kind of clunky. Like I had like 4 drops in my hand. I'm like, I don't really want to lose this land on turn 2. Because that'll slow me down a lot. I'm like, all right, I'll take it. And Dark Ritual and Hatred came out, and I died. So.
I was living the dream on the black side right there.
Yep, but Hatred. People love the Hatred when they come to Premodern. I mean, it was good. It was good. I mean,
I remember there was a standard form with Type 2 at the time, where Hatred had just been printed and Raging Goblin was there, and there was a perfect 7-card hand where you could get like a turn 1 kill, and so many people tried that. Let me message him here.
Good old Raging Goblin.
Yep.
All right, Ancient Tomb is the start for Tom. So he's got.
Ancient Tomb, no artifacts is rough.
It feels like Tangle Wire to me. That's what I feel like. I don't know. All right, Tom.
Just kept the 1-lander too.
Yeah, Tom already has to think. Okay, so he's got a Shivan Reef, so he's got access to colored mana with this draw, but still no artifact. Interesting. Okay, I mean, also possible that Tangle Wire's still in his hand. That is a card that, like, the game could be very different if you cast a turn 2 Tanglewire as compared to turn 3.
It's also possible he's protecting. He's got 1 or 2 artifacts, and he's just protecting them this game.
Yeah, like if you have a mana heavy draw that you can kind of like prevent it from getting seal cleansing by just keeping it in your hand. if Ancient Tomb had the same wording as City of Brass, Tanglewire would be much worse. Yeah, that would be really awkward. You could take a lot of damage from your lands.
Yeah.
All right, Nils on his second turn. It looks like he's got some options as he's going to ponder how he's going to want to develop his board. Things could be. I mean, I'm trying to think how you had to think. Like, what could make you think about your sequencing in this position? Exploration, or
He might have one of those awkward draws too, where he has like the difference between accelerating or just playing Enchantress and passing.
yeah.
He might have like Fertile Ground and Enchantress, and he's just trying to decide if he wants to slow down for 1 turn to draw an extra card next turn or not. These Enchantress decks are always kind of weird on the mana. You're never really sure when to waste an enchantment.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty important. Like, I think that is part of the difficulty of playing this deck is the turns. Like, if you are just on autopilot and always just play out your enchantments just willy nilly, you're going to lose some points. And I think being careful and really thinking about how the next few turns are going to play out, and like, if I play this enchantment now, does it have more value being in play? Should I keep it in my hand? What happens if Tanglewire is coming down, or these kind of cards? Like, there's little things that change how the game could play, and I don't fault Nils for really considering how he wants to sequence things. So, all right, looks like he has settled on playing City of Brass and then Seal of Cleansing.
Speaking of the City of Brass wording, that's the only card that words like that, right? There's nothing else. I'm trying to think.
Like, I mean, when it becomes tapped,
Magic Online, right?
I mean, I was thinking like Mana Vault. I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about like legal cards in Premodern, but any card.
The only card like that.
Oh, well, there's definitely like creatures that like when this becomes tapped, it deals the damage from modern day Magic, but
true.
Can you imagine going to the Cheesecake Factory with Nils, waiting for him to order what to just? Are you a fan of Cheesecake Factory? I know some people love it. Some people kind of rip on it.
I've been there once. I didn't really. I don't know what's so special about it.
So I remember going there after a Magic tournament in Chicago, and there was a super long wait. We were like downtown Chicago, and it was really busy. And I'm pretty sure they like forgot our like place in line or whatever, because I think we waited like 2 hours, and we checked multiple times. We like, did you guys forget about us? And they said no. And then we finally like sat down, and was one of the best meals that I had, but probably just because I was absolutely starving. So they got me good.
No, we always ran the Giordano's in Niles, Illinois.
Some deep dish pizza.
Yep.
Are you a big fan of deep dish? I like crispier pizza now. So the deep dish pizza is a different texture than what I'm used to.
It is. Everybody talks about either the New York or the deep dish. I think there's like a Wisconsin, like Jack's Pizza is like a Wisconsin pizza. I always kind of refer to it as.
Okay.
I think there's like those kinds. That's what I'm a fan of.
There's this really good like Detroit style pizza from Costco, and they don't always have it in stock, but that one I really enjoy in terms of like frozen pizzas. That one's really good. It's almost like the crust is like kind of garlic bready. Very good.
I still feel like we got lied to about Detroit style pizza in Detroit.
Oh, so we went to a team tournament in Detroit, and we ate at this nice, I think it was BDM who recommended it to us, and nice place. And we would travel a little for a bit and went there, and I mean, we all felt sick. Like, I know I was in the bathroom. I was like, and then I went outside. Like, I thought I had like food poisoning or something. And I mean, we had 2 different pizzas, and BK was a vegetarian, so there wasn't meat on his, so it wasn't a meat. So we thought like maybe it was the cheese. But my favorite part is like we're about to leave the hotel the next day, and Lester's just sitting in the car eating leftover pizza from the night before that we all felt sick after. I'm like, what are you doing? He's just like, I'll take my chances. I was hungry.
It's all about the value.
So
finally got an Enchantress. First one.
okay.
Yeah, BDM still claims that's the best piece he ever had too, I think.
Well, I think we rolled low the time we went there, but I would give it another shot still. So I think there were two or three places that he recommended. I think that was one of them. That might have been the closest one or whatnot, but at least it was worth a good story. That's for sure.
Yes. So I wonder if we were right last turn on if he was debating on the Enchantress or the Seal.
Okay. Yep.
It seems like it. So at this point, I'm really wondering what Tom's got because
I mean,
mana hungry draw.
Yeah, it might be like an intuition. I guess he
already intuitioned.
Oh wait, what did he intuition for? I was busy talking about pizza. For Ancient Tombs? Interesting.
He might have another intuition here though.
Impulse, okay.
That's a painful impulse.
Yeah. But this is a matchup where in most situations we saw the beatdown happen in game one, but most of the time your life total is not under pressure. Though I mean it might make a turn difference, like if you go for like a Words of War combo kill, that you being low can make it a lot easier.
Better question is, do you think Words of War is even still in the deck? I guess we forgot about that card. It might just get sided out. It might be a win more card.
Maybe. I guess I never thought about that, but that I definitely can see that, like, because kind of the way you win doesn't really matter, and
yeah. I always kind of tunnel vision on that stuff, but it might just be a completely wins more card, like.
Yep.
We should bring back the impulse, like the pros articles.
Someone made a pre-modern version of that, of like how everyone's. I don't know if one had one for Tom, but they poked fun at Nils's pace of play. I think his was consider something or no. It also was like he had like a spreadsheet of whatever the best choice was for the situation. So
I do not think his pace of play is bad in any way whatsoever, by the way.
This match has been completely fine. And also, I mean, I enjoy it. Like, I just gotta talk a little bit more about Magic. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah.
He's deliberate. He likes to think things through, and I can appreciate that. So,
we all grew up watching the Steve play Magic.
Yeah, and there are certain situations, certain board states where I definitely will stare at it for a while and try and figure out what the best course of action is. So.
Did you ever have the pleasure of playing against Turbo Bob Wagner?
No.
Okay.
You got
somebody in the finals of a PTQ that was running laps around the hall while Turbo Bob was taking his turns.
So if we saw a hand with intuition for Ancient Tomb, that means you have to have like combo pieces in your hand, right?
I would think. So you're setting up. I would think at that point you're setting up the Fling.
Okay.
Devourer combo.
I mean that's probably the easiest way.
Right.
Because with the seal cleansing in play, yeah, I agree. So I mean like the easiest or the most mana efficient way to do that is like Jeweled Amulet and tinker it away and then fling it. And that's just 5 mana, right? But it's 2 colored mana, which Tom does not have right now.
Right.
Solitary Confinement in play, so this could disrupt Tom a bit. Because this prevents both cards in terms of alter and fling from comboing, so
Was that actually Sungrass Praire?
Yes, there is one copy of Sungrass Praire, so a keen eye, Lester.
Ooh. He can filter his mana.
Are these lands overplayed or underplayed in Premodern?
I think they're underplayed for sure.
I mean, they're not played very much, so I think the bar is pretty low. But yeah, I think they're maybe like Blue White Standstill could go with like 1 or 2 copies of this card.
Yep. Blue White for sure. I think should be playing it. So I don't think this doesn't favor Devourer still.
He basically needs to have all the things to do and have a Rushing River at the end of Nils's turn, right?
Right, but I don't think that it changes the math dramatically because he still just needs basically to draw Rushing River.
Well, I mean, I don't know if like your hand also could just have just no mana and you really need the intuition, but I feel like you kind of don't want to burn your intuition on getting an Ancient Tomb if you like don't have a card like Rushing River or don't have like the full combo. So okay, we do see Rushing River. So Tom has to be fairly confident that he is going to win, right? Because I don't think you'd be that scared.
I mean, he might just have Chromatic Sphere too, right? And then that gives him the double colored mana or the City of Brass.
How is Nils at 8? Am I getting that right?
Sylvan Library.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what happened? Yep. All right.
Yep. The Necro Hut got him.
The green Necro.
Yep.
All right. So Rushing River got rid of the Solitary Confinement. Tom's going to take his turn. He's going to untap. He's going to play Chromatic Sphere. There is a City of Brass in play, so I think that he's going to tinker away this Chromatic Sphere, and he will be able to fling. That is
yep.
Seemingly what's going to be happening right here. Because if he's going for an Altar of Dementia kill, I don't think it's going to work out very well in his favor. So as long as he's got some converted mana costs in his deck, I think Nils probably is going to fall to the combo deck in the hands of Tom. So is there any, like, I guess we kind of backed up. Is there any, time. Okay, so we'll see Phyrexian Devourer do its thing. And I'm guessing this quarterfinal Spring Fling match will be ended with none other than the card Fling.
So we now see he did have Goblin Welder in the deck too.
Okay.
I think it's a man that side knows Jeweled Amulets because we never got to see that cool play.
All right, Fling is being flung. It takes a big giant to fling a Phyrexian Devourer, but
he only had to do it for 8 to be fair.
Yeah, that's true.
Way easier.
It'd be kind of funny if you didn't even have to like put the second trigger of the Phyrexian Devourer, like don't even make it 7 or greater to kill him. But
so you had 2 Rushing River, 2 Fling in that game. So that was
And there was a worship in Nils' hand, but I guess that doesn't. Even if there were 2 targets like Rushing River, I guess getting rid of one land would be very problematic. Like having to kick it, could have been very different. So
kicking it that game would have. Yep, he did. Wait, is he showing that he did side out?
All right, I'm gonna jump over to the player screen. I'll unmute them. Maybe they're gonna be talking about how they sideboarded, and we can kind of get some information from them.
That guy, I had good chance in game 3 as well. I just needed to either land a double protection tank or a Sterling Row in combination with one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have the Sterling Row there. And obviously it helps you that you're starting game 3.
That's true. Oh wait, I should unmute them.
Hello, players.
Oops.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Looks like they're working on it. So.
Okay, I have you guys unmuted.
Okay. Well, good job. Those were very interesting games. So I guess when you saw the matchup, what were like kind of the points that you saw what did you think the matchup was going to happen? What were the key parts to the matchup today? I guess Nils, you can go because I think Tom probably didn't hear me. So, what was your take on the matchup? Did you think either was favored, or you think it was pretty close, or was it just actually more like the die roll was kind of the big deal, or what?
To start off, I haven't played this exact matchup before, so I don't have any first-hand experience with it, but I kind of had some ideas of what will be how it will turn out. I think pre-board, like the first game, I have have quite a lot of dead cards, so I think my deck improves quite a bit after sideboard. So I think game one is a bit tough for me. I either need to get a bit lucky or like get an early Solitary Confinement, but that requires a bit of setup because you need to feed it with cards and stuff. So I figured Tom is probably faster than me game one. But and this game one was quite strange because I my 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 hand was land, city of forest, city of brass, exploration, um, wild growth, Serra Sanctum, worship, and opalescence. So I figured with this hand I can get the opalescence worship and be protected against the fling, which is the part of the combo that is actually hardest for me to protect myself against because I have Seal of Cleansing to take off the alter in response to a Tinker or to a hardcast Devourer. So I figured like this actually answers the part of the combo that is hardest for me to answer, and it also is a clock where I could land a worship turn 2 and potentially an opalescence and start attacking for 5 a turn from turn 3, which seems like this is a very strange hand, but it's also one of the like I could see it winning in some scenarios. And then it turned out that Tom had the Tangle Wire, which is very hard for Enchantress in general because I don't have any enchantments to, or sorry, permanents to tap to Tangle Wire except lands. So after I kind of I chose to start with the worship there because I wanted to be able to swing in for 5 the next turn. But in retrospect, when I did see the tank bar, I was wondering if I should have played the Opalescence turn. At least I did. I know for sure I sequenced that one wrong.
Okay.
I should, instead of using the Serra Sanctum, I should have played the Brushland because then I could keep the Serra Sanctum in hand and potentially top deck a land, so I could play the Serra Sanctum and another land to get total 4 mana and play whatever.
Okay.
But with committing the Sanctum to the board, it would be a tap to Tangle Wire. So that was the incorrect line. That one at least was incorrect, but I was not really punished by it because I didn't draw land anyways.
Okay.
But I could have played the Opalescence first, and then I could be able to tap the Exploration for the Tangle Wire because that one became a creature. So, and then I could have committed to worship that turn after all, I think, or no, I will at least be able to get under the Tangle Wire lock 1 turn earlier. So it was either to play the worship first and get the attacking going faster, or play the Opalescence first and be a bit better protected against the Tangle Wire line. So I'm not 100% sure what was correct there, but I'm not sure, at least sure I should have played the Brushland and kept the Sanctum in hand instead of the way I did. That's at least incorrect. Yeah, and I don't think that's much more to say. I didn't draw anything relevant for the remaining of that game, so it was just a race, and then Tom get it over, then it's over. Game 2, I was starting, and as I said, I better, or my deck improves quite a bit after Cyber, I think, so that's a much more even matchup than the first one. And the plan is to kind of stop both combos. I need to stop the mill combo and I need to stop the fling combo. It's harder for me to stop the fling combo. I need a worship and or a Solitary Confinement to stop it. While the altar combo, I can either kind of at least delay it with seal, and I can also stop it completely with Words of War.
Yeah, I guess Cursed Totem would help with both halves, but
and of course Cursed Totem.
the problem is like you kind of want to play a number permanent. You kind of need more. You kind of need 3 to feel safe because Rushing River can get rid of 2 at once, or like maybe Sterling Grove might like protect an enchantment in a certain situation. But yeah, you have to play. You have to have a number of your hate cards to kind of feel safe all the time. So
that was basically what happened in game 3. I had 2 hate cards, but I didn't have enough mana to commit both to the board. So I had both. I had the worship in hand as well. But then I guess Tom would just have kicked the. Well, then he wouldn't have enough mana to play it. So if I had like top decked or drawn the Sanctum there, then I would have been safe. But or alternative a Sterling Grove, that would also like because I need to take out the Sterling Grove before it takes out the confinement. But yeah. It was an interesting match. I think very felt close actually all games, but especially the 2 last ones.
I guess one question I have is about like a card like Elephant Grass. If you play against a matchup that just isn't planning on attacking you, do they ever stay in just because they're cheaper than some of the other cards because they can like cycle? Does that ever come into play? Or are those cards that usually the first card that gets sideboarded out in this type of matchup?
They always get started out, and the reason is because if I want that effect just to cycle, I have Carpet of Flowers, which are just better at doing that. So yes, I keep I sometimes boarding Carpet of Flowers when they're irrelevant for Elephant Grass just to keep the mana curve as is. So in this matchup, if I didn't have enough sideboard cards, then I would bring in some Carpet of Flowers.
Okay, I guess that makes a lot more sense to both of them cycle for green, but the other one stays in play. And Tom had 1 island, so you might actually get a mana every now and then. So
yeah, but those staying in play actually is relevant.
Yeah, that does seem. Yep.
They feed or mix mana from Serra Sanctum, and also they will attack with Opalescence.
Okay.
So yeah, when Elephant Grass is irrelevant, then Carpet of Flowers is a strict upgrade, even if it's my opponent is not playing islands.
Okay. All right, Tom, what were your thoughts on the matchup? It sounded like it was anything that differed from Nils' perspective, or were you kind of on the same page? Did you like your matchup, or did you think it was pretty close? What were your thoughts going in?
Yeah, no, Nils broke it down pretty well. So I felt favored, just because like once we had open deck list, the first thing I looked for, I scoured through real quick looking for any guidance blessings. But once I saw that, I was like, okay, game 1, like Nils said too, I think it's probably like I don't know, it might be like 80-20. Like it's probably Devourer so favored game 1. But he has so much stuff post board. I was like, okay, him on the play, probably bad for me game 2. I actually had the win lined up before he kind of like went crazy. So him finding the second Enchantress's presence was huge. It just got him so far ahead. The line I was going to take was Intuition for 3 Crystal Veins. And then I had kind of the same play as game 3, but it was to hard cast Devour and then have Fling. But I couldn't do that with everything. So I just scooped game 2. I don't know if you guys knew why I scooped. Even though it may have not been over, it was definitely over. There was no interaction. He had 7 cards in hand, and then it was going to be the same thing again after I Rushing River the turn before. He's going to play the Seals, draw so many more cards, be so far ahead. Like, there's no coming back.
Yeah, we did touch on it. That like we did make a comment, and it was like, yeah, it's like when you kind of use your Rushing River, you kind of just hope to have it that turn, and you know that those cards are coming back down. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like that was the writing was on the wall that we could have just stayed there for another 30 minutes, like, but it was over.
Yeah.
But then game 3 in the play, I kept like I did mulligan to 6. My hand was like a little sketchy, but I was like, if I just like the intuition for the 3 ancient tombs, I needed the mana to even like have a chance. I feel like if I didn't do that, I probably wouldn't have won because I did not draw another land until I drew the City of Brass. But
Okay.
it was close. I feel like if I didn't draw the City of Brass there, I think I may have lost the game.
So when you intuition there for the Ancient Tombs, was your hand really strong, or was it just like in terms of like did you have everything else you needed and you just needed land, or was it something that like you needed both to have land then and also draw some cards? Because it was to me it was telegraphing that you had a very strong hand, but it could have been my later explanation. So what was it? You just needed land?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure my hand at that time was two flings, a tinker, and a rushing river.
Okay. So you kind of have all bases covered. That's kind of yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So like if I draw the ancient tomb or if I get the ancient tombs, I'm just gonna draw like a Mind Stone or another Chromatic Sphere, and I can like win. Yeah.
Cool.
So game 2, when you Rushing Rivered, were you just needing to draw another colored mana to go off then game 2?
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
Okay.
Because you had sacrificed your City of Brass instead of one of the tombs. Were you 1 mana short, or were you 1 colored mana short, or was that just?
I needed I only had the Devourer in my hand, so I needed to have 8 mana that turn, so I had to save the ancient tomb.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
but you're right. Yeah, I needed the other colored mana because for
Fling.
Oh, did I?
Tinker Fling.
Yeah.
Because you Rushing River, then you Intuition for Tinker. So then we weren't sure if you were just 1 colored mana short of going off then.
Well, he also didn't have any artifacts after that, so he had to both play a Chromatic Sphere,
right, or Jeweled Bird, or Jeweled Amulet.
and so he had to commit another artifact and tinker away and then fling, and so
it was tight. Like playing against Enchantress is like, I don't know, it's like scary. I'm surprised more people I feel like it's kind of coming to the surface now, right? There was 1 top 8 Lobster Con. Nils just top 8'd here. Like, I think we had a discussion like about a week ago on Discord. It was like it's the best deck like no one's playing.
Yep. I think that's
tier 1.
I think it's fair. And I also think it's one of those things that it rewards people for playing it more. Like the little sequencings of when you play the enchantments or how you map out your turns can really make a big difference, and those points add up. And so if the more you play it or the more you kind of think about how the turns are actually going to play out can reward a player. So is that something that you found challenging, Nils? Does it change game to game, or is it kind of something that you get used to just from playing the deck?
I guess it's hard to get used to. Like in this game, I have to sequence things a lot differently than.
Yeah, there's a lot of like things like Tangle Wire and whatnot might change the way that you play the game. So
exactly, yeah. That's also, like I said, I did an error in game 1 where the kind of the natural thing of just playing the Sanctum and just was the incorrect line because it's not playing around Tangle Wire. And also like in game 3, it was more important to get the Seal of Cleansing to the board to be protected against Tangle Wire than get an Enchantress in play. And like those kind of things, you have to adjust your sequencing. Well, that applies, I guess, to all decks, but it's also very important in Enchantress. It's not solitaire. Like you have to to change your sequence depending on what your opponent is playing, and that was also why I was thinking a lot on game 3. I think, yeah, because I was like Thomas signaling intuition. I was thinking about how can I best protect myself against the intuition into. I was most afraid of the fling line there, and that was not killing me. So I was thinking like, is there any way he can go like intuition into fling, get ancient tomb, and like Jeweled Amulet, Tinker, Fling? Does he have like the exact mana to that, like 5 mana? And those kind of things. That was what I was thinking about, not actually in my own hands that much, but more like how can I stop Tom in the most efficient way. So
yeah.
In game 1, did you think about attacking with the Worship into the Devourer at all?
Yeah, I was not sure how that would benefit I guess.
The advantage is like he would have to flip Phyrexian Devourer and then it would die. Like
Yeah, that's true.
But
Yeah.
Or if he has to flip 2 cards, it could be
yeah, I guess
So we have to. It dies when it gets power.
I think it's 7 or greater.
Yeah, so he needs to get either 5 or 6 then. Yeah. But I think like Tom's list is mostly 1 and 2 costs, so.
Yeah, I think it is still very likely that it would still live. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 7 or greater, it dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there were a lot of little interesting things that went on, and it was pretty exciting. The Rushing River does a good job of kind of clearing the way from what you were trying to do, Neil. So it's kind of tricky for you to kind of feel safe in any position. But yeah, it was really cool to see both of you guys win in different ways, and the back and forth was really cool.
Tom draws about 2 Rushing Rivers every draw.
Yeah.
He had 2 Rushing Rivers every game after sideboard, so that was a little more difficult.
I think he only needed one game, right? But yeah.
He had the extra one just in case, you know.
All right. Is there anything the players want to add? Is there anything the chat wants to chime in real quick? There's been a good amount of love for both players. I know we've seen you guys a lot, and I think people enjoy watching you play and the decks that you play, and so a lot of love and support for both of you. So
thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you guys don't have anything to add or anything else, we can let you go, and Lester and I are gonna wrap things up. Job well done, Nils, on the top 8. Wasn't able to make back-to-back Fall Brawl and Spring Fling, but still an impressive result either way. So
yeah, that was the goal, but now I have to wait a whole year.
Okay.
All right, see you guys.
All right.
Congrats on top 8. Good luck in the finals. Right?
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
All right, I will move over to our schedule. We can kind of, I guess now we'll talk about who is advanced. So I guess if you're watching this later and you don't want spoilers, you can end it now. But so we had Sly. I'll go from lower right. I guess I should start upper left. So we had the mono blue Stifle Knot defeating the rock deck. That was one of the matchups. So Sven and his mono blue Stifle Knot will advance. We have Tom. We just saw Tom defeat Nils with the Devourer combo, and so we have Stifle Knot. The Phyrexians will be up against each other. Phyrexian Dreadnought against Phyrexian Devourer. So we'll see who will be able to come out ahead there. And then on the other side of the bracket, we had Turtle Splash defeating the Goblins deck, and then Sly defeating the Elves deck. So a combo deck against Burn. And so that could be an interesting matchup because I know that one could be really interesting. I don't know exactly how quick I'm not sure who's favored in that matchup either. So I know a lot of people have been very excited by the Turtle Splash deck, the exciting combo deck that's kind of been piloted by Connor is been doing well for him, and it's really fun to see people explore new spaces and do well with them. So do you want to talk about anything of the decks or any of the upcoming matches, Lester?
Well, we can definitely take a look at the red versus combo matchup if you want to look at it. I don't have the deck list though. I'm looking right now.
We'll probably just wait till like the actual time that we're there. But I mean, like, if there's some big moment you want to like think. David, if you're looking for a top 8 list, I would go to the Facebook group. I guess actually I do have a resource that I can.
Mike's name and all the posts pop up. That's what I just did.
If you're in the Premodern group on Facebook, that's one way to do it. I will put a link that I have. It's a Google sheet that I have a lot of the decks. I'm going to put it in. This has a tab with all the deck lists from the tournament, and you should be able to find the top 8, though they're not quite in order right now. So it's a little bit difficult to navigate, but once you get used to it, it should be pretty good. But that's a way to look at the deck lists. There are... I think I might need to enter in like 1 or 2 more, but we'll have all the deck lists from the tournament in that database. So really cool there. But yeah, just going forward, I'm really excited. We still have a lot of good matches upcoming for the top 8 of the Spring Fling. And it'll be cool to see who comes out on top. So I guess with that, I just want to thank everyone who was able to tune in today. I guess I'll give an extra shout out for all the people that I was able to meet this last week in Boston. It was great to meet people in person. Also, anyone who stopped and said hi or said that they enjoyed my content or that they've learned a lot or any type of those things, it always means a lot. So I appreciate that. It was really cool for me. So really enjoy that. Thank you, Lester, for jumping in the booth with me and holding things down and providing everyone with some entertainment. So I appreciate that. Is there anything you want to add before we call it a day?
No, good. This is a cool matchup. Excited to see the next ones that will come up and see what we can comment on that.
Yeah. All right. So everyone, thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care.
All right, have a good one.